Why now, when it's becoming LeBron's final few years, and we just gonna say that if he plays 3 more years, why is it so hard for us to let go? Why? He's still the face, and he probably will be when he leaves. Hey y'all, this is Nothing Lightly. We're back with another episode. I'm C's and that's Dee Dee. The last episode, it was a fun one, but we got another one, and this one is going to be just as exciting. So, stay with us because we got a lot to get into. A lot of sports happened this past week or two. I mean, we had the Four Nations that ended, All-Star game ended, and we definitely have to get into that. And we had some upsets as far as college. We see that those brackets, you better watch them brackets because AP rankings are coming out, and every week it's a new ranking on the women's side. And then we have some retirements. Diana Taurasi said farewell. So here we are, Deasia, Dee Dee. What are we starting with? Get us going.
So we going to start off with, of course, the All-Star game. Y'all know we got to cover that. And like we predicted, like we thought, it didn't pan out. I could have just watched the highlights. When I'm talking highlights, I could have just watched Mac McClung win a dunk contest for the third time. And then after that, you see all these tweets coming in. Oh, I should have been in it. I should have did it. Ja, I'll do it if you do it. Giannis, I'll do it. Y'all should have did it. You chose not to. So Mac McClung is now the 3-time dunk contest, and he's won 3 years in a row. It ain't like he won several, like gaps in between. He won 3 times in a row. And nobody stood up. Nobody stepped up. Now they want to do it. So, what do you think, Sierra? Was there a true 50?
Yeah, I do say there was a true 50. When he jumped over that car, that was crazy. Because it ain't like he's some tall. He's a guard. He's not like, 6'8" and jumping over a car. He's not that tall. But you know what I need to point out? Is he still a two-way player? Is he still in the G League?
Yeah, or has he is. He hasn't completely. I don't believe that he's completely come to the NBA. I mean, fully.
Right. So, okay, let's just go with this. He is a G League player, and you telling me nobody on contract in the NBA, none of these high flyers, none of these exciting dunkers, electrifying dunkers, take anything personal and say, let me take this title. You allow a G Leaguer. And I'm not trying to say, first of all, getting to the G League is amazing. It's hard to make it to the league, and you are a professional. Let's just say that. I will never take nothing away from that. I think that's amazing. But the fact that he's trying to make the team, right? Make the Orlando team consistently. And they allow him to go out there and win 3 in a row. Though, I say he's talented. He's exceptional. He can jump out of the gym. He can jump over a car. We saw that. So that was a 50. But somebody, who is going to take this personal? Like, come on now. And like you said, we got to wait to the end till it comes out. Ja sending tweets. Anthony Edwards, come on. It's like Deasia, they have all said, oh, this All-Star game didn't live up to it. So maybe if I was in it. It's like you hearing the backlash. Yeah, and I'm not taking nothing away from McClung. He did his thing. Outstanding.
Yeah, he had some amazing dunks. Remember the one where he touched the rim with the ball, then he dunked. Right. Like he had several true 50s. So that's been as great as I would think the one with Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon. Even Castle did good. He had some 50s. It just wasn't enough. He couldn't win when you got the guy that's perfect. He wasn't perfect in that contest. That's why he did not win. And plus this guy is just, it's exceptionally better. You know, if Castle, he would have won had McClung not been in it. If McClung wasn't in it, he would have taken that easy. But remember when I was telling you, C's, that he might not come back for another year? Now he's saying he will, because he still wants to smoke. Like, he basically saying, yeah, y'all can try to beat me. You could try. But he still said that. Remember at first he was saying he ain't had no more, like he's going to run out of dunks. He probably got in the lab and was practicing like, I still got some more left. He didn't have to do that many dunks. If you think about it, to win this this contest, he really didn't still have to do that many.
But he got so much bounce in him. Creativity, fine. It's the ability to jump over a car. he can jump over a bicyclist, a motorcycle next time, and that's gonna be amazing. So as long as he can keep doing that, you don't have to come up with something new. You can do the same dunks. Nobody's wanting to do it. Like, y'all gonna just keep letting him win? You're gonna just keep letting him win. That's what happens to the competitiveness. And what I don't like about it is you wait till it happened to say something. Nobody took it personal when the All-Star selection was happening. Nobody said, hey, I would like to do it. Nobody said that. Now you wait for him to win 3 times and say, oh, let's go get him. I hope he does come back for the 4th time and go out there and do it again. Come on,
and
now.
Sierra, now that he know that they might be like, Sierra, if you think about it, back to what I was saying, he didn't have to do that many dunks. You know, usually they pull out more dunks if they missed the first one. He didn't miss a dunk, so he only had to do.
But he's a real dunker. He's solidified.
He didn't have to change it up. Like, okay, I couldn't get that one. Let me just dunk it. Let me just get a dunk in. Right. So he still got more. He probably realized that part. Like, I didn't even get that deep in my bag yet. If Ja Morant come, it's gonna make it more fun for me. I feel like now he's just winning by a landslide almost. I mean, Castle, let me not take nothing away from him. He did really well. He would have won, like I said, if McClung was not in it. But I'm pretty sure the stakes are going to be much higher. That bragging rights going to be much better. His ego is going to be lifted if he got Ja Morant in it. You know, it'll be a little bit different. So that's going to be interesting. And it'll be interesting if Castle come back, because he really did a great job. He did amazing. He had some true 50s, and that's what I wanted to see, because we've seen some dunk contests where you didn't deserve a 50. You missed several dunks. How did you deserve a 50 and you get it? Okay, yeah, it was a hard dunk, but that doesn't mean you deserve a 50 when you missed it twice before that. You wasn't perfect. That's what it's about. That's why you get a 50, because you were perfect. Now, I heard this. What are your thoughts on this? I heard somebody say they need to take out the props. And if they do the props, it got to be the last round.
That goes back to tradition. So, like you were saying, remember the last episode, let's go back to that. I don't care. You got to dunk, right? Dribble the ball up and dunk. So that does go back to tradition. They didn't have all of that stuff that they have now. But I think that's prop with the car now. That brings audience. That does bring the audience. But some of that stuff is like not needed. You know, all of the change of this, and you getting a bunch of people to stand up there. It depends on what it is. Because let's focus on the dunk. Let's focus on the actual execution. See, that's what it comes down. Execution of the dunk. I agree with what you said last time. If you don't land the dunk, you don't land the dunk. But you know I had to come back with you with something. Did you mention Giannis? He a 7-footer. You ain't want to see a 7-footer, did you?
Sierra,
you want to see Dwight Howard.
Sierra, that's not what I said. You didn't listen to what I said last time. I didn't say that you can't be 7 feet. I said you got to be 7 feet and make the dunk. Dwight Howard got in that dunk contest. He did not complete the dunk at 7 feet. I don't care if Shaq was in the dunk contest. He could be in it. You have to complete the dunk. You can't just throw the ball in. That's not a dunk. That's what I'm saying, Sierra. If Giannis is in it and he completes a dunk, fine, we'll take it. I know he gonna complete his dunks, but y'all let Dwight Howard get away with throwing on a cape and not completing the dunk, and he won. That's why that didn't deserve a 50. Whatever he got, he should have deserved a 0 for that. You didn't dunk. You're disqualified. Talking about disqualification, I'm ready to talk about what Wemby and Chris Paul did.
Yeah, let's get into that. So, a lot of people were saying that was Chris Paul's idea. Some people were saying it was Wemby's. I mean, did we ever find out? But do you like that?
It was terrible. That's garbage. I've been waiting to say this. Have you ever seen the cartoon Grinch? The cartoon.
I don't know if I have, but I know that's your favorite version of the Grinch.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's what Wemby looked like, throwing the balls. Imagine him with gifts in his hands. He looked like the Grinch throwing the balls at the rim. Like, you're not trying to do anything, just throwing stuff. It was almost like he throwing stuff over his head or just throwing it out. And then Chris Paul is like
of what she just did.
Yeah, Sierra, that's what he looked like. That was terrible. Come on now. Like, I heard that Sue Bird did that before, but she said she at least made an attempt, from what I hear. She was the original of making that illegal rule, kind of like a rule that you cannot do. But guess what? She did it, and she still went on to win. So she must have not did it to the level that Wemby did it. He did it outrageously. I'm telling you, he looked like the cartoon Grinch throwing gifts at the basket. Sarah, I don't even think some of them hit the backboard. He just throwing the ball. Like, you cannot just pass. You have to attempt a shot, Sierra. That was terrible. It was terrible. And then they looked surprised when the judges came over. Like, you do know you can't do that. It was like they were just expecting to make it to the next round. No. And I don't know if they changed the rules just on the spot, but they was rightfully so. That's taken away from the guys that came out here that did a good job. And not to mention that, Draymond did terrible on his second round. On the first round, he did okay. On the second round, he did terrible. And then the ball guy, like, dropped the ball, so you couldn't even blame it. I just wanted to blame it on Draymond, but then now I can't, because I remember the ball guy, like, moved the ball. So it's like, now you can't really blame Draymond. That, like I said, he shouldn't have been in the skills challenge. But that ball boy shouldn't have been in the skills challenge. He moved the cart. So now all the balls was everywhere, and that was Draymond's excuse of why he didn't do well. And that's why the Cavs won.
So real quick, just so everybody listening knows, when we was talking about that skills challenge, it's basically an obstacle course of things that you got to do. You got to pass, shoot, and dribble. Like, it's like a full court skills where you showcase all of these things. So Chris Paul and Wemby outsmarted it. They hijacked it. We can say
rigged it. Sierra, it didn't count.
They rigged it. They got
scammed it.
And maybe they did get the idea from Sue Bird, but this is what we're referencing. Anyway, Deasia went on to talk about Draymond. Remember last episode, he didn't have any skills. Now, I don't necessarily totally agree with that.
I didn't say no skills. I said he rebounds and he can pass, Sierra. His shooting and dribbling. I said he's not the fastest. That was my main thing. He's not quick. He proved that in the second round.
Regardless of it, we had a lot of bloopers, if we want to say. We didn't really as the fans, you kind of didn't get the full expectations. You didn't get to see the full competition because some people were disqualified. And as Deasia was mentioning, Draymond didn't have a fair go at it. So that kind of left us hanging. But again, this was all weekend. I mean, if you all watched the All-Star game, this probably was the worst one. But a few more things before we move on. So we know that LeBron did not end up playing. And it was a lot of conversation. It was a lot of mixed feelings on that. So I just want to ask your opinion, Deasia, and I'll give mine. Was it right that he sat out? And he kind of did it at the last minute. Some players that was expected to be reserves, because he did it so much at the last minute, were not able to be chosen to play. So do you agree with it? And I'm just asking your opinion. What do you think? And I'll tell you what I thought.
I think that's fine. I mean, at the day of a game, or if it's a game, a track meet, whatever it is, you don't know what your body going to be feeling that day. Yeah, it took away from other people to fill in, but what was they filling in for? They played two games to 40, Sierra, and like we thought, it didn't do anything anyway. Like, they was going to be disappointed. As a matter of fact, if you was a reserve, you weren't going to get to play that much. They said the guys on average that made it didn't even play that much. Like, they had about maybe 7 or 8 minutes. And I'm just saying, like, each. You get what I'm saying, Sarah? It ain't like right. You really watching them that much. You know? So it didn't matter. And maybe he calculated all of that. And maybe he thought about, is this even worth it for me to go out there and tweak my ankle even more? I got a season coming up. I got a championship run. And speaking of that, the Lakers are doing amazing. So he made the right decision. I agree with that. That's just my thoughts on it. Whether it's the All-Star, anything coming up, if you know you're not at your best, why go put forward unless you're competing for a championship? This is low stakes. This is the All-Star. What he competing for, Sierra? The MVP of the All-Star? What is that? They didn't even give it to Tatum, who had the most points. No, he shouldn't have deserved it. I do agree that Steph deserved that, but what did that mean? That's just to uplift that trophy, which means nothing. It don't mean what it used to mean. Like, remember when it used to mean something when Allen Iverson would hold that trophy up, and then you know that he went out there and showed why he was an all-star and why he's better than all the other all-stars? Now they just give that award away. It's usually for the person that scores the most points, but this time they gave it to Steph because he hit the deepest threes. He took the hardest shots. What is that? So going back to LeBron, he did the right thing. Sit out. And that's going to be more remembered than him playing in the game because the game was terrible. It was the worst part of the All-Star. That should have been first. You know how usually they put the best part last? That should have been first. And the 3-point should have been last. And what Draymond and them did should have been right after that All-Star. Because that was terrible as well. All fans know, Sarah, we ain't the only two that's on here that's saying it's been terrible. I mean, even Melo was saying it's terrible. Come on now. LeBron probably thought, no, let me get on out of this. This ain't it. I'm going to head on now.
Yeah.
What's your thought?
I totally agree with everything you just said. But I want to point out the fact that If we're gonna speak on tradition, the All-Star, it's an honor. It's it's notoriety at the highest level. This is in the middle of the season. You have to be playing well. This is before the first team all NBA comes out. This is like, these are the guys that are doing well for their city. This is who the fans voted for. And you mean to tell me that some rookies or sophomore guys, even maybe some G League guys, can play against your honorary, your top players, your all-stars? That's like saying, DH, like you mentioned before, let's go get some college players and play against the dream team. Is this a joke? I mean, what is this? You having fans spend their earned money, fans who maybe never got a chance to come to a stadium, and this is what they supposed to see? LeBron, one of the highest earning players ever, the GOAT. You want the GOAT to play against some rookies? Some sophomore players? Again, I'm not taking away from the talent at that level. You got to start somewhere. It's great for them. But for him, how many times has he been an all-star? And you wait to the end of my career when this might be the last time we see him at the all-star. If he retires next year, we will not see him again. If he retires tomorrow, DH, we won't see him again. So this is what we wanted. Instead of saying, let's do all we can, because players at this point in their career very seldom are still all-stars and still starting all-stars. So I agree. You can say whatever. It was selfish. He has his body to protect. He can go for another championship. And are we saying that our GOAT, yeah, he loves the game. We know that. That's why he's still playing. I think that's the biggest reason why he's still playing. He loves the game so much. And if we want to end there, we can just say that LeBron loves basketball. But at some point, when does the NBA say no? Let's get back to tradition. Let's go back to what it used to be. And then it will never change until somebody like this takes a stand.
It was Sierra. I saw a post or a tweet, but KD was saying it's an interruption. He was just saying we need to cancel the All-Star. We should just take a break. That's bad when this is one of your superstars in the league saying this. He's an All-Star, but he's also a superstar. He said, let's take a break. And then it was Steph Curry's idea for that 4th game. They tried it, and it did terrible. The reason why is because they had more commercial breaks than anything. That's why I'm going back to Kevin Hart.
How many times did we see Kevin Hart up there? I didn't know that this was a comedy segment. This is not. And we saw Kevin Hart and TNT. I don't love those guys.
TNT. It's just Kevin Hart.
Yeah. Love those guys, but we saw more of the end game, the pregame, the in between, the halftime shows, all of this talking versus them actually playing. Tatum and a few guys said it was kind of bad. They sitting in the locker room for 20 minutes in between games, just sitting there getting cold. This is a game. This is a competition. Your body has to stay warm to even play well. So we can't just say, oh yeah, the All-Stars didn't do nothing, because what could they do? They sitting there on the bench waiting as we get all of these announcements, all of these commercials. What other All-Star? If you look at MLB, they don't do that. The Derby, they don't do that. Why is it normally the NBA is the biggest All-Star that we gonna see? Why is the NBA? Why is our game of basketball going in this direction? It's never like that in baseball. They don't have all of this.
It was weird, Sierra. We could just put it at that. It didn't make any sense why. I mean, okay, you did the tournament style, but why so many breaks in between? You got to remember, it's people watching this. And it wasn't, imagine the people at the game. We watching from the TVs and we like, dog, I literally could go do something else and come back and the next game still wasn't on. But imagine if you were sitting in the stands as a fan watching this. I would assume they had some theatrics out there on the court because, they did bring out some, it was music going on. I think they had 2 performances. But again, what else? We not here to watch the performances. We want to see the players play, and that took away from them. It's unfortunate if that was your first time being an All-Star. Yeah, you get the notoriety, but you don't really get to play. We just said they didn't play that many minutes. I mean, the games was based on points. So imagine if somebody put up that 40 really quick, Sierra. They didn't play a lot, It
And for
just
the
was not
NBA,
long
let me ask you,
games.
for the NBA, and you got all stars, most of them are major scorers on their respective teams. It's not hard to put up 40 points. They would do it in a few minutes. Come on now. So it's like we didn't really even get to see a lot of it. It was a lot left off the table. And like you said, the main event that we was trying to explain last episode of why it's so huge, it has become like, what is this? This is like the worst part of it.
Well, the good thing about it, these games was very short, but imagine if it was a long game, like with all the interviews, all of that. Yes, it's great for the fans, but maybe it's not so great for the players. They are worn out by the time they get to the game. So I think Draymond was saying something about that. Like, it takes away from their play or whatever. Whatever. I don't think that that's a good enough excuse. Talking about, you worn out because of the taxing on that, to me, you still got to come out here and play. Don't use that as an excuse why you don't want to play hard. This is what we predicted, that they wouldn't play hard, and it was terrible. Literally terrible. They didn't play hard at all, Sierra, and a lot of it you can't blame on them because they wasn't out there for that long. Did anybody break a sweat from what you saw? Was it like we just saw what I had said? People shooting threes from the half court. We saw some alley-oops, some dunks, and that was about it. No defense. I didn't see not a single person get in a defensive stance. I don't even think they squatted.
To be honest, the best little few seconds that I saw of the entire game was Kyrie versus Wemby. You got probably the most skilled offensive player with the ball in his hands versus this great defender. That was probably the most competitive matchup for that little few seconds, 5-6 seconds that Kyrie was working in. He went on to not finish that layup, that scoop, but still, that was the most competitive. Even though he didn't finish, that was still like exciting. We finally got a little bit of what tradition was, where you, like you mentioned, will get a matchup that you was waiting for. Or it's like, uh-oh, here we go. But that was all that we had.
So Draymond was upset that the Rising Stars got a chance to be on the floor of the All-Star. He was upset that they even got a chance to touch the All-Star floor. How do you feel about that?
It's not their fault. This is an opportunity to showcase your skill, to showcase why you are a rising star. Most of them go on to become All-Stars if they continue to progress in that manner. But I mean, it's the fact that you had some of the G Leaguers. I would say, now that's kind of, because they had them, right? They played against
they had a G League team.
They had an opportunity. They could have went to the game because they played that first night and they could have won and played. Now, I agree with Draymond but that the NBA shouldn't have done that. It needs to get back to the East versus West, period. But it's not their fault.
But do you think that takes away from the All-Stars that's made it? That was his point. By letting them play against them, that takes away from the All-Stars. Yes. People work so hard for it.
His tone of it might have not been the most received. But what he was trying to say, yes, I do agree. I do agree that All-Stars, you was voted as an All-Star. The fans vote. The teams vote. Coaches, all the stakeholders vote on who should be out there. It should not have been a question. He is right on that. You earned this. You earned to be here. Why am I sharing it with someone that is still on the rise? These people have arrived.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, I hate to agree with it because it is Draymond, but I agree with it.
Call a spade a spade.
Yeah, I'm going to call a spade here. He's right about that. They should not have had the Rising Stars. I do like, they should have kept, see what happened is they took away from that Rising Star game. Just leave that game. That's fine. Let the Rising Stars and G League, just leave that the way, or the World Team G League, whatever. Leave that the way it is. But let the All-Stars go back to East and West. I don't think that they shouldn't play. I think, the Rising Star game is still fun to watch because a lot of those players, they end up being All-Stars. But for them to just be on the All-Star level, now they get to go straight up to the All-Star game. It's like taking an elevator that you shouldn't have been able to catch yet. You should still be pressing a button and it don't come. You shouldn't be able to press it and now you get booted up to the 5th floor where the All-Stars are playing. No, you got to wait your turn. That's what he was saying, and I agree with that. You got to put in your dues. You got to play better. You got to. It's other guys, Sierra. What about the guys that we was talking about that if LeBron would have got out of it, they didn't even get to touch that floor. That's what he was saying. You let these players skip that step. and touch the floor. What about the players that play so much better than these rising stars? They didn't get a chance to say, let me go play in that game. I can go play some pickup. They didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah, and it's so much, it's so much backlash and so much conversation onto this. We should have all-star versus all-star. We shouldn't have rising stars. But the rising stars game, that's where the league should play with. NBA should play with the different type of tournaments. If you're going to do the world team versus
let them just go for a championship. That's when you
try all of these different formats, because that's fun. It's like a prelude. But when you gotta stick to what is the tradition of the NBA. Go back to history. This is why you don't see Jordan at these all-star games. This is why, because what is it to watch? We used to have these huge legends coming to the game because they used to be competitive. Do you think Kobe would have liked this? Come on now. He would have been begging them guys. But see, that's the thing. When you lose that edge, when it's out the door, nobody else has it, then what? And LeBron can't be the only one. KD can't be the only one. Steph can't be the only one. You got to have more. And we got so much on this conversation. Like, we can go on and on and on. I don't know what else more to say about it. It was disappointing. And it left us hanging.
We can leave it at that. It was disappointing. As fans, we were disappointed.
Let's move into something else. We mentioned a world team. Like, maybe they should try that in the Rising Stars. We agree on that. But some people are saying, since this ain't competitive, since the NBA players don't seem like they taking any pride or taking anything personal with it, let's go back to the world team versus USA. And I just want to hear your thoughts real quick, if you think it's going to work.
I think it works in other leagues. It works all the time in the Olympics. That's what it's about. It works in the World Games. They should do that. If you're not going to get the All-Star right, East versus West, why not try the American players versus, let's go to world team, which is, that could be Canadians, that could be European, or that could be Asians, whatever. Put all the other countries versus the U.S. That would be interesting, because you got a Luka, you got Shea, you got Wemby. All of these players are not from the U.S., so it still would be a good team. And that would allow it to be more competitive, because if you're not going to represent your team, you can represent your country. And when they do that, Sierra, they take a lot of pride, because that's why the U.S. has such a hard time on the men's side of winning gold. The gold run for the men's side is not as easy as the women. Like the women, they basically can tie their hands and close their eyes and win. And spin 3 times. But the men can't do that. They can't tie their hands at all. They got to be watching film. No, yeah, they getting much better. Up. The Sierra, it's not hard for the men. I mean, for the women to win. They can win. They still got to play well, but to be honest, once they catch their spark, it's going to be tough to beat them. That's what I just see for the women. It's like the gymnastics women, Sierra. It's tough to beat them. Let's be honest. They got China that will, give them a budge or shove sometimes. That's basically what the women's basketball. They get a little budge or shove in the back, like, come on. And that's it. The men, Sierra, they get shoved, they get scratched, they get slammed to the ground. This is an all-out dog fight. So with that being said, yeah, maybe they will play like they do in the Olympics, where they put their heads together and they get real serious. I ain't never seen Tatum so mad. But maybe that's how he should be an all-star. And he wasn't even playing. So imagine, Sierra, that he wasn't even playing in the Olympics. But imagine that, just that type of focus level that they all was on. If Tatum was on the bench, Sierra, and focus, imagine LeBron out there, Steph out there, when he had to put his hands like he going to sleep. He was very emotional. Why did all that emotion come out? Sierra, they almost want to cry. Like this gold medal, and they bite that medal at the end because they got all that emotion. The women, they smiling and waving. I'm a smile and wave, boys. I'll see you in 4 years. The men can't do that. They got to keep their foot on the gas. But maybe with the All-Star, if you put that type of environment, if you put that competitive stake around them, like, we going to do this for our country, maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll play hard. Maybe we'll see not only good matchups, but we'll see a great game, and fans will be happy. And then don't do that tournament. Cut that. Tried it, didn't work. Go back to the regular game so all the players can play. World versus the U.S. Let's see that for the All-Star.
Okay. Now, I don't really want to see that.
What? You don't want to see that, Sarah? That'd be so cool.
I don't want to see that, Deasia. I
Sarah,
tell
you tweaking.
Deasia, I want to go back to the original All-Star format. Let's just go back to East versus West. I want to see them get busy in the fourth.
Sarah, they've
Why
tried.
can't they
It
just
won't
do
work.
it? Why do we have to beg them to show some pride? The pride is you are an all-star. You earned this. Everybody is not going to say, everybody that made the league cannot say they're an all-star. That is it's a high accolade. It's a rite of passage. It leads you on a path of maybe you can be a Hall of Famer.
Sarah, with the world thing.
It starts the conversation. Are you solidified? Wow, you're this guy for our team. You're the franchise player and you're living up to that. I just want to see, we have world players. Yeah, I would like to see Luka, but I want to see him against Wemby. I don't have to see them to play together, Deasia.
Okay, I get that.
And you know what? I'm so biased on that. I'm really biased on that because it's not even going to be, if LeBron and Steph and KD are still there, it's not even going to be a game.
Sierra, you kind of forgetting that they got a lot of world players that are good. Let's not forget, like I keep telling you, the men's didn't go into an easy battle with the Olympics. Imagine now, you think about it, Sierra. Luka's team, no, not Luka's team, the Joker. I'm going to talk about Jokic. His team almost beat the U.S. Now imagine, you put him, he was with a bunch of other guys. Now, not to say that every one of them couldn't play, but none of them are as good as Shea, or you put a Luka on his team. Now put them all with the Joker versus the U.S. You don't think that'd be good basketball? Imagine, he had players on his team. Joker at the time had players on his team in the Olympics that weren't in the NBA. Now, give him a Luka with him. You don't think that would be interesting?
I do think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be awesome. I think that it'll be very competitive. But why do we have to go back? Why do we have to do that? Why? Why can't we show pride for the NBA? Just be what it was. Why can't we have competitive East versus West?
Sierra, I want that. But if it don't, Sierra, I want that. But I just don't know if they're going to do that. It's so many things coming out now. They tried the East versus the West.
We can go on and on about this too. Because something has to give. So, I mean, we'll agree to disagree on that. I would like to see tradition while you make good points. And I do say, you know, you make excellent points, but it's just my personal preference. But
yeah, anyway, it'll be nice. I don't disagree with you completely. I think East versus West will be nice, but I just don't think they're going to go back into that same uncompetitive. Yeah, yes. I think at least if they play with a world team or play for their country in some type of way, they might be more competitive. Maybe. I don't know.
And they'll be competitive.
Now, let's talk about something else. We talking about competition. We talk about competitive. What we've been hearing talks of maybe the NBA will throw in a 1-versus-1 like Unrivaled did because they saw that was so successful. We kind of talked about that last time.
I think that it's a place for that in the NBA All-Star Weekend. I do think there's a place for it. But if they not even gonna buy into the game, I doubt that they will buy into a 1-versus-1. It'll take a whole lot, and it's not even money. You can't. These guys have multi-million-dollar contracts. They're not motivated by the money to do anything because
I agree with that.
Even the money that's in the All-Star game as it is, they're not motivated by it. You can win money if you win a dunk contest. They're not doing it. You don't have sometimes the best shooters in the 3-point contest. They're not making moves because of money. They already make enough money. So it has to be something else. So I just don't, that'll be a long shot if the 1-versus-1 happens. That's my opinion.
I just wanted to bring it back up because we kind of predicted that would be good for the NBA. And like we saw Unrivaled, it was successful. Why not throw that in at the end after the dunk contest? That would be kind of the finishing of that night. Take away the skills or put the skills on the first day. You know, that will just give more momentum. That's all we saying. I just wanted to bring that up, that we was right, that maybe that could be what they need to do to go into the direction of more competition. Now, let's move on.
Maybe they'll have an edge and say, hey, I got to get you back in this game. But, yeah, let's move on because we mentioned the world versus USA. And so this is a good segue into what happened with hockey. We cover all sports. We're just sports fanatics. And when we see something that's interesting to us, of course, we're going to watch, but we also have our opinion on it. So with that 4 nations, It was a lot that came out with the 4 teams that played. USA being one of them, Canada, Sweden, and I forget the last team.
Finland.
Finland. So all of those teams played in like a tournament style. The NHL, the hockey league did not have an all-star this year. They end up just focusing their attention onto this 4 nations, and this hasn't been done since 2016, where they had like a world matchup, a World Cup, if you say it like that. They haven't done world hockey since 2016, so this was huge. But what was spectacular about it is like how it brought eyes, it brought attention to the hockey league. Everybody is not the biggest fan of it. One, it shares the season of basketball, which in America, basketball has higher ratings. Basketball is in more cities, right? But in other countries, it's huge. So I just want to give some insight of what one of the coaches, because Canada went on to win. They went on to play USA for the final game, which was like a big matchup because I guess they had been beating USA. So USA had some get back with that, but they did not get back. They ended up losing to Canada.
Well, they won one, but they lost to them in the finals, which was huge for Canada.
But I've been saying, like, overall, every time they match up in like these world games at the Olympics, they've been losing to Canada. So this championship would have been huge. But I just want to give some insight of what the coach said from Canada. He said this, and I'm quoting directly from this. This is not an all-star game. This is the battle of the best. So the 4 teams, they chose the best players of their countries. He then went on to say, nothing has been done more for hockey in a decade than what this tournament has done. He said, Canada needed this win. The players bared that on their shoulders, and they took it seriously. This wasn't a win for themselves. This was a win for 40+ million people. And the guys knew it, and they delivered. So I watched this in real time as he was kind of giving, his thoughts on SportsCenter. It was inspiring. This was what you say when you talk about the pride of a country. He said when he looked in the stadium, when he looked in the audience, and he saw the faces of people there, and he knew the attention that had been gotten. That's why he said nothing more has been done for hockey in 10 years. Because it brought eyes to it. And that's what sports does. It brings eyes to it. It brings fans that might not necessarily always have a chance to watch. It brings that there. But the number one thing he said beyond that nothing has been done more for it is the pride of these nations. They have something that they want to collectively win. And this was the best of the best. We don't always get a chance to see the Olympics. It happens every 4 years. So for them to show this, televise this tournament, was huge for the sport.
Yeah, they said it was like a teaser for the Olympics coming up next year. So that was interesting.
Because now they go back with this momentum, or they go back with this chip on their shoulder. It's like going back and you getting knocked down in a Super Bowl, and now you got to come back, and this is on your mind. That's what it does with sports. But the best thing about this, and this is why we do this, Dish, this is why we talk about this. This is the beautiful part about it. With everything that's happening in the world, everything that's going on, the one thing that brings us together, one of the few things, is sports. And that's what that coach was trying to say. So I have nothing but respect for that. Yes, we want to see USA win, but I have respect for what he said. Because if anything brings us together, it is sports. It's sports. It's our pride for our team.
Yeah, Sarah, and that's why the Olympics is so huge. That's why, hats off to Canada for winning. Shout out Vancouver, and, I'd like to see that. I don't watch hockey like that, but like you were saying, C's, this made me want to tune in. This made me want to see who are these players, follow along. Like, we posting stuff on our page. I don't be having a clue. I'm going to be honest. We don't know every sport, but it's interesting. Like when somebody tell me, dog, did you see that goal? Did you see that fight? And this is a sport they allowed them to fight. They could fight, This is what I was just talking about with the NBA. They in a dog fight, but it's not a real fight. But guess what? In hockey, they can fight, and it's a real fight. Imagine you hitting somebody, Sierra, and then you got to still go and score a goal on them. Like, I think it's a sport where they just take it more seriously. They don't score a lot of points like soccer, but that's why you got to tune in. You got to really focus. And it kind of just made me a fan of it. Now imagine me getting to see it and to learn like, oh, I like this. I like to watch this. It's interesting. It's not basketball where they're going to score over 100 and something. It's like Canada ended up beating the U.S. 3-2. So that just shows you how close and how on edge of the seats they were. And maybe that's what that coach meant too. Like there is minor things that make a team win, like track. It's not a lot why you get a Sha'Carri Richardson at a win over somebody else. It's very close, And that's what the Olympics. It's a good team.
But that's all we were saying. I just wanted to bring light to that. I wanted to share that here, and it's a great comparison to what maybe the NBA is looking to do. It is, when we talk about the world team versus USA. So, shout out to that tournament. I thought that was awesome. And it's just an appetizer for us fans that would like to see more of it to now have something else.
You know what? It's a good way to invite others to watch a sport. And they did an amazing job with that. And plus, they got their diehards who watching it regardless. So imagine if other sports would do that. Other countries, and like you said, Sierra, it's a good way to bring countries together. Whether that's going to be in a competitive way or you just going to, I don't know, you're going to battle it out on the ice. And that's what they did. So it was interesting to watch. It's interesting to see these teams go on. And we were fans. We became fans.
All right, so let's move on into yesterday actually, Diana Taurasi, DT, the legend herself, the GOAT of women's basketball. She got so many accolades. What is she? Olympian, WNBA champion, NCAA champion, gold medalist. But Diana Taurasi gave 20 years to basketball. The game is going to miss her. She is the GOAT. I compare her. She's WNBA's Kobe. She paved the way for so many players. She was the voice for this league. And not just the WNBA. For women's basketball, she has been a trailblazer. She has carried the flag, and also she has always been the last one out of the tunnel for this sport, this league, and for women in sports. So shout out you, DT. We gonna miss you. It's just unbelievable, her career.
Yeah. She is the 11th-time WNBA All-Star. She is the 6th-time Olympic gold medalist. She is the 3-time WNBA champion. She is the 2-time WNBA Finals MVP. She's the WNBA MVP, period. She's the White Mamba. She's the greatest of all time. She is the undisputed Diana Taurasi.
Dang, I like how they said that she's the White Mamba, because I said she's our Kobe. She's the WNBA's Kobe. Phoenix, I know they up in arms. They gonna miss her. So I gotta ask though, Deasia, with all of the trades that happened, especially around Phoenix being one of the highlights, being one of the center points as far as teams, do you think they saw this coming? Do you think that they knew and that's why they was moving pieces around? And then just what do you think her impact to you? I said it to me, like what she, has meant for basketball. Just tell me the impact that she has had in basketball for you.
She like that player, Sierra, that you just see that already was good in college, So when she got to the WNBA, it's no surprise that she did really well. So even in college, she won several championships. She was a 3-time NCAA champion. She was a 2-time tournament MVP. You get what I'm saying, Sierra? So Imagine her taking that and then getting to the WNBA and elevating that times 10. That's what she was. She's the person that set the 2,000 points in the WNBA. She's the first to ever do that. That's what that is. That's who she is. She just is a staple of that league. She is the face of that league. Without Maya Moore, you have Diana Taurasi. That's who she is. And plus, she played for one of the greatest coaches. She played for Gino. You can't get around it. It's like Sierra, she's somebody that's unbudgeable. You can't move her. She like that chess piece that she's solid. She the queen on the other end. Like when they were going for their championship, Sierra, you got to get through me. Plus, when they got BG, that's just very difficult. You got DT and BG. But Sierra, she is a staple of the league. She's like that stake in the ground, like I am the face of the WNBA. And what I like to call her is she's the gatekeeper of the league. And if you know anything about the WNBA, you know what I mean. And if you don't, then you don't know. Because what she does is when they say, when they say, welcome to the WNBA, that's what Diana Taurasi is. Welcome to the W. because she'll welcome you real quick. And you go watch some of her interviews. She will tell you very quickly that you're not ready for the W. And that's what she does. She is a gatekeeper. She only lets the best of the best. It comes down to really that. And you see what the W does. They have no faults. And if you make the draft, you may not make the team. And she would flat out say in an interview, you're not ready. She has done that. And don't let it be, Sierra, this is top 10 college players that are about to go to the WNBA draft. She would literally flat out say, yeah, welcome to the W. Let's see if they're ready. And I'm pretty sure that she has had so many moments and instances, but I like to call it a gatekeeper because she makes the W so small, Sierra. And there's other players that do it, but I think Diana Taurasi is the best at it. She will not allow you to come into that league and think you're going to get over. Like, it's going to be, you know how we like to say now that college and the W, it's a step, like we could see the tunnel of how you gradually move from college to WNBA. What she does is that ladder that you got to climb, she like puts a hole in that ladder. So she makes it more difficult. So even if
you got to climb it, and you don't have a staircase.
You don't have a staircase. She like knocks that over. That's what she does. So even if you top 10 in the draft, or you may even be you got drafted to the WNBA. Say you got drafted. She makes it so, Sierra, if you got drafted, you got to prove why you got to make this team. And if you end up making a team, now you got to prove why you should be in this league. Like, you're not going to come in here with Diana Taurasi still playing, Sierra. You're not going to score on her, or she gonna score 20 on you. That's what's going to happen. And she going to show you defensively you're not ready yet.
And she going to go down the court and nudge you the whole way. You're going to be like, you ever got hit in the game, DH, in your stomach? It's a gut punch, and it's like the wind gets knocked out of you. That's what she does all game. Not to mention she lighting you up for 30. And then you got to go back, and when you get the ball, she's pushing you down into the paint, pushing you down, running when you're running around screens. This is DT. But DH, let's not get it twisted. Let's not take it lightly. She gave this league 20 years. And that's the W. Not to mention, like you said, what she did in college. 20 years, we're congratulating LeBron, right?
Right.
So just put that in perspective. We're congratulating LeBron for getting this 20 years. But we sometimes people forget. They're doing this over in the W. And DT did it where she was still on top. She just came from the Olympics. They just went out and won. She was a big reason why that happened. Her leadership. But also, like you said, Deasia, it's that mentality of excellence to push this league forward. It's no woman more deserving of what she has done for this game of basketball as far as women. And we shouldn't even differentiate her. I would consider her almost top 10 man or woman.
Sierra, she top 2 and she ain't 2. That's what she is. That's how I put it. Like, come on now, Sierra, 20 years of excellence. That's who she is. And without her, she's going to be very missed. When they go down and they look at the Hall of Famers, it's a no question. We're going to have another episode where we're going to talk about the Hall of Famers, who's making the finals right now for that. But I mean, Sue Bird just retired a couple years ago, and Sierra, she's already a finalist. Imagine DT, Sierra. It's undeniable. She's in a league of her own. I can only name a couple people off my hand, but that's why I say top 2, and she ain't 2. You just got to remember, Sierra, she not only great, but she been doing this for a long time, 20 years. Like you was just saying, that's like what LeBron is doing, but imagine she's doing it. And she got that mentality of Kobe. It's like what LeBron was doing, but the mentality of what Kobe was. You get what I'm saying, Sierra?
Right.
So imagine Kobe's mentality of, I'm going to make you be excellent. You got to beat me to the gym. You got to be able to play as well as me, or you won't be able to compete. But then I'm going to outlast you like LeBron did. She literally just said she got full. She was fed really well with basketball, and now her appetite, she's satisfied. She's satiated. She's no longer hungry. That's what it is, Sierra. She decided to hang up her jersey, and guess what? It's going to the rafters. That's what it is.
Clearly. Period. Like, that's it.
Sierra,
Wow.
she said, I mean, we can go on and on about Diana Taurasi. I just feel like she's leaving. What the greatest thing about this is she's walking away when the league is in great hands. She's passing it along when it's with Angel Reese, it's with Caitlin Clark, it's with Asia Wilson, it's with Arike, it's with Dejanay, it's with all of these
Skylar
great players.
Diggins.
Skylar Diggins, we got Aaliyah
Fee.
Edwards, we got so many people. Queen Fee, we got Courtney Williams. I can go down and list and name all these players. And if you're not watching the WNBA, then what are you doing? You should be up on your players at this point, because I can keep going. I could keep saying names. I missed some names, but that's who she's leaving the league in good hands. That's what she did, Sierra. She didn't let the league go when it was it's like the NBA, Sierra. LeBron gonna eventually pass this league and ain't gonna be nobody to grab it. But guess what? When DT left the league, there's a bunch of hands grabbing the ball. They holding on to it. They just grabbed it. Like, let's keep it moving.
Picture that just came into my mind. It's like a bride throwing the bouquet.
Yeah.
Many of them want to catch the bouquet. It's so many waiting. It's so many with their arms outstretched. And that just came to my mind, like, she is leaving. She has passed the torch. That's why I said, yeah, she was the last one out of the tunnel. And when they come out of the tunnel, what are they carrying? A flag or a torch. And they are ready to receive it. And shout out again, DT, we gonna miss you. Farewell. Much respect. Let's move on into, does the NBA have someone? I mean, we know who's passing the torch, who is holding that flame. LeBron. But DH, the flame is slowly fading out. And it's not his ability. It's that time is coming. Just like we just mentioned, when he makes the decision to sit out, time is starting to come where he's lived all of these moments.
Yeah.
His son is in the league now. He's ready to pass that torch. Pass the baton, if we may. Not only him, I mean, that's GOAT talk, but you still got Steph, who's also ready to pass the baton. You got KD, who's ready to pass the baton. These are the faces of the league right now. Their faces are now fading. They're moving out of the spotlight. They are wanting to do that by choice, not by force, by choice. It's all coming. It's closing in on them. But who next? So it's a few people in question. Anthony Edwards, Shea, Wemby, Luka. And you can even throw a Ja in there. Out of all of these guys, is someone ready? Is someone ready to accept the baton? And what that becomes, the aura of being the face of the league, the responsibility, the role model, the sportsmanship, all of these things, but also the excellence of the game. Is someone ready to accept that baton? Let me hear your thoughts on that.
Sierra, I don't think anybody, and I mean anybody, is going to match up to what Kobe, LeBron, and MJ have left the league with. Not only great players, but just all around superstars. They just bring that it factor that you can't put into words. I can't name it. I can try to come up with different things of why it makes them the superstars that they were, that LeBron is right now. And there's no other player that's like that. Maybe that's a good thing. People may want to hate on it, but it might not be so bad. Only person that I say that the talks of the league been trying to say is Anthony Edwards, but he not there yet. And Sarah, to be honest, he even said it out of his mouth. He does not want to be the face of the league. But see, that's the thing. When you become the face of the league, I don't think Kobe, Sierra, let me just break this down for you. Kobe didn't want to be the face of the league. Why? Because basketball was just basketball to him. It wasn't like he was trying to do something extra. Yeah, he came out with some great shoes later in his career. But he wasn't like Mike and what LeBron is doing. Sierra, he didn't have this huge business factor outside of him, right? He was just great at basketball. So Anthony Edwards, by him saying, I don't want to do it, see, that's what the face of the league, you don't get a question of it. It's just you are it. And so by him saying that, I think he knows in the back of his head, he not it. Because if you were it, you wouldn't be able to say that. You just it. And I could say another player where they was trying to make him it, and he messed it up for himself. Ja Morant. Right, and they not going to make him the face of the league. So who do they want? Anthony Edwards. But by him saying, He don't want to be the face of the league. He know he's not ready. He knows at the end of the day, he knows he's not the caliber of what Kobe, LeBron, and MJ were. He's not that. And now I will give him hats off to great commercials. He does amazing. I love his commercials, you know. But guess what? That ain't enough. You got to come out there and play every single day. And he plays hard, Sierra. It's just something about him. He just not there yet. And maybe you give him 3 years when LeBron finally does leave. Maybe we'll see it. We'll have to finally just accept, okay, it is Anthony Edwards. But for right now, if we was to say like the WNBA, how Diana Taurasi literally compares it to other players, LeBron can't do that. And maybe that's why he's sticking around. He trying to see. But as I'm going back to my other point, maybe it's not so bad if it's nobody. It could be a handful of guys. It could be Tatum. It could be Anthony Edwards. It could be Ja Morant. You could have a Wemby. You could have a Luka. It don't have to be just one player. So maybe the league would do better in that sense. But right now, there's no LeBron coming next.
But that's that conversation that we're breaking away from tradition. And I get what you're saying, Deasia, that maybe it's not so bad. But see, LeBron was a chosen one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He didn't have to ask. They didn't have to ask him. It chose him. He was the chosen one out of high school. And he lived up to that from day one. If you go back and you watch what his coaches, the players around him say about him, look at what JJ is still saying. At 40 years old, he's still the first one in the gym. He's still the hardest working out of all of these young 20-year-old guys. The chosen one. I agree totally that it is something we can't put into words. So the conversation is laughable to me. Like, y'all even considering this? Why are we even talking about this? Because it's no one. It's no one. And like I said, I love to mention KD and Steph. It's no one even close to them. They don't even have their next. They don't have their next, because when you look at how they approach the game, when you look at their will, their desire to win, you don't see that. And then all the other things that come with it, the attention, the sportsmanship, rising to the occasion. How do you carry this league outside of the court? That's why we get into the conversation about Ja. Tatum, he's pouting on the bench at the Olympics. How is that your face of the league? And I have to stop there. How is Tatum in the conversation for the face of the league? He didn't even play in the Olympics. He was sitting on the bench. One of the only for multiple games that sat on the bench. Did Jordan ever sit on the bench? Did LeBron ever sit on the bench? Did Kobe ever sit on the bench? And when I mean sit on the bench, didn't play all game. But y'all want to come back over when now we back in the NBA and say, let's make him the face of the league? Tatum can go out there and win. But until you prove that you carrying the USA team on your back, you will never be the face of the league. And that's why this is laughable. White went out there and played over Tatum. And White ain't even the best player on the Celtics. Tatum is. Jaylen Brown is. But he didn't play. So how you going to make him the face of the league if he's struggling to be the face of the Celtics? Doesn't make sense. There's nobody else coming. And when we compare it across leagues, when we look across the aisle between the women and the men, they have many people ready. Look at Caitlin Clark's aura. We already talked about it. It's undeniable. Angel Reese. We're not saying you got to be out there scoring the most points. Aja Wilson. It doesn't have to be said. She haven't even released that shoe yet, DH, and everybody is waiting, anticipating that shoe. It's the aura. We can't put it into words. It is the it factor. But why now, when it's becoming LeBron's final few years, and we just gonna say that if he plays 3 more years, why is it so hard for us to let go? Why? He's still the face, and he probably will be when he leaves. That's it. I'm done talking about it.
Oh, if he continues on at the face of the league, that'll be for the very first time in any sports history that I think he will remain the face of the league. Will they change? Will they have to change the logo to a LeBron logo on the NBA jerseys?
If you look across other leagues, and this is it, D-Nation. If you look across other leagues, look at football. Who did Brady pass it to? Mahomes. Why is it that the NBA is awaiting? They have gotten too comfortable, and that's what goes to the competitiveness. It's slowly fading away. They want to be too friendly out there. That goes back to NBA All-Star. It's too friendly. Everybody want to be friends.
Yeah,
Nobody
right.
want to be competitive, and that's what it is.
Yeah, you're right. That dog factor. And that's why I think they really want Anthony Edwards because honestly, Sierra, he's the biggest dog. He really is. But the thing about it is, it's just not enough right now.
I was just watching him play. He was on the bench. They went into overtime. And he was on the bench for most of it, Deasia. He wasn't the reason why they won. And yes, LeBron may have his off nights. Kobe. But you mean to tell me that for 5 minutes of this overtime, he really didn't play? And before that, he wasn't the reason why they took it to overtime. They was down like 10 points, and they end up coming back with their role players. He's not ready because LeBron, Kobe, and MJ would have been on that floor.
Well, I'll say this last thing. I think it comes to leadership. Anthony Edwards don't got the leadership piece yet, and I think that's what Kobe, that's what LeBron, that's what MJ, they all have that factor. If I want to say one thing, which I really don't even want to say that word, but if I give it something, I'll say maybe it's the leadership, because leadership is what keeps you on the floor at the end of the game. Leadership is really what makes you a face of anything. You have to be a leader, and maybe that's why Tatum wasn't playing, because when it comes to the Olympics, we know that that's a dog fight, and you got to be able to come out there and show what you got. Melo could do that, Sierra. He is the face of the Olympics. When you talk about NBA Olympics, you bet not ever leave Melo's name off the list. But what we could have done was left Tatum's name off the list. Now, Anthony Edwards, he kind of filled in. He wasn't a leader out there. It was still LeBron. And if Melo was playing, it would have still been Melo. He's just a dog. For some reason, he comes out and shows that. Anthony Edwards played well, but he was never the reason why they won. Melo was always the reason why they won. You get what I'm saying, C's? And see, people think that the Olympics don't matter. Yes, it do. Because guess what? The dream team was what it was because MJ was on it. If he not on it, it ain't a dream team, right?
And they was. Most of them guys didn't want to play if he wasn't on it. That's why they went back and said, Isaiah, you cannot play. Go look it up. Go do your research.
If you're going to make Anthony Edwards the face of the league, you might as well make Melo the face of the league back in the day. You might as well make him at some point the face. And he wasn't the face. D-Wade wasn't a face. They just weren't.
Yeah, you're right. We would love to have him right now. Prime, Melo, I would take them. Legends. 2 legends. Hall of Famers. Top 75. And we should do a whole segment on that because there's a lot to discuss with that. But anyway, let's get into college. That's been real exciting. That's been getting old. I can't wait till next week when we talk about the bracketology. We got a lot to discuss. March is our favorite month. For more than one reason. But one of them is March Madness. Let's start with the women. We done had 2 and 3 switch up. They doing toss-ups. They juggling. AP rankings. So this is the ranking that comes out every Sunday or Monday for the college top 25 teams. And now, who takes number 1? Texas, for the first time in how many years, Deasia?
Wasn't it 21 years?
21 years. 21 years. That's huge because Texas, they have been a major contender in the past few years. They've been making NCAA, but to not have the number 1 ranking is surprising. That's how good this league has been, but you know who's been holding the top AP ranking most of the time? UConn.
I hope you didn't say UCLA. I'm just hoping you don't say them. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. I told you they wasn't a true number 1. And guess what? They got knocked off the next day. Literally the next day after I said that. I told you. They got knocked off.
Hold on. I just want to go back. Let's build it up. UConn has been AP number 1 ranking, period. SC has also held the number 1 ranking in the past few years. It's been only a few teams, but this year is so exciting because we've had a mismatch. So when we build these brackets, it's going to be hard. A lot of these teams are in the same conference. SEC, Big Ten, all of these, they're in the same conference. So they going to have to play each other, and y'all better watch y'all brackets.
You keep dodging this bullet. I'm telling you, I told you that UCLA was going to get knocked. Sarah, no, did I? Why don't you just face the simple fact?
You was right.
Yeah, and say it. I was right. I told you. And guess who beat them? USC with a Juju who don't even got a full squad. She got half of what.
How many blocks did she had that game?
Yeah, she got half of what UCLA got, and they smoked them. They held on, and guess what? They dogged them. They walked them like some dogs. That's what they did. I told you UCLA wasn't a true number 1, and that's what happened. So I can't wait to put them number 10 on winning on my bracket, because I don't think so. No, if Bess don't play well, Sierra, if they get her in foul trouble, they ain't. Well, if you don't got Bess Sierra, you cannot throw it down there to her. What are you gonna do? The Wings are gonna have to play. They don't have enough. And I hate to say it, it's another team that I really hate. I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, but there's one other team that I just don't think they're missing a piece, and that may hurt them. Who do you think I'm talking about? Start with an S.
South Carolina?
South Carolina. They're missing one piece, and they're missing a true five. They don't have a true five, and that's hurting them right now. That's why they lost to UConn. They got Joyce playing the five, but she's not a true five. She would be better at the four, and that's what's hurting them right now. They don't have a Cardoza no more. They ain't got a Aaliyah Boston. They ain't got an Asia Wilson. That's what's hurting them. A lot of people saying, oh, you don't need to be playing your guards. You need to switch them out. No, Raven Johnson's still doing what she do. She's still a dog on defense. She's a great two-way player. You can't pull her off the bench. You still got Tessa Johnson. You can't put Pow Pow on the bench. Then it's not the Wings. They don't have a true five, and that's what hurts them.
Yeah, Malaysia. We ain't even
and that's what, Sierra, I ain't even talk about her. She the reason why they keep winning. I give it two reasons why they are still who they are. Raven Johnson and Malaysia Fulwiley. If they play well, if Raven Johnson sticks great defense and just controls the tempo, when she does that really well, Sierra, South Carolina can't lose. But if Malaysia Fulwiley continuously stays very, very deep in her bag, you can't stop her. You know what it's like? It's like NC State. Isaiah James with that behind the back. We done seen that all year from Malaysia Fulwiley. But for the first time in the very best game happened last, what was that, Sunday? NC State versus Notre Dame. My true number one. And NC State came away with the W. So I got to change my brackets, because next week we going to do our bracket episode of who we think. But right now, my true number one is still Notre Dame. Although the true AP number one is number one Texas.
Yeah, let's give them their credit when credit is due.
And Texas is good.
They went out and got a big win versus LSU, so they have got two big wins.
Sierra, you know what I like about Texas? They play their game no matter what. That's why they deserve it. So I will hats off to them. And I really like Notre Dame in that spot, but Notre Dame, they faltered under pressure versus NC State. I think they just got wore out. But back to Texas, what I really like about what they do, and we don't want to give away all of our thoughts right now, we just giving y'all a sneak peek, but really what I like about Texas is they play tempo really well. They do what they do, and they do it well. They slow the game down, and they get to they sets really good. And they point guard, she controls that. She ain't gonna go out there and score 20, Sierra, but she'll give you a good 12, 15. With that, she gonna control the floor of the game.
Yeah, it's a lot of talent in this league. And remember, we gonna see a lot of these girls, because it's not men's basketball where they can be one and done. They have to play a few years, 3 years, right? So we get the joy of seeing them play for the 3 years, and that's why it's so exciting. And plus, they making more money anyway. Just keep playing in college. For the first time,
Beth is coming back.
And yeah, she coming back to play with her sister, as I would do to come and play with my sister. But anyway, for the first time, the NCAA is going to pay colleges. And that's a huge milestone for basketball for women. A few years ago, they compared the women tournament to the men, and they had swag bags, which was more of like a little bag in a little room that they had for them to work out in, compared to the men, who had a huge rollout of merch, huge workout rooms. I mean, it was just a huge gap. But now they paying them. So that is a win. Thank you for recognizing the women in this game, for recognizing everybody that has put in to advancing women's basketball, especially when it is due at the college level. Anyway, though, we're not going to give y'all everything. We just excited about it, because every week something new is coming out. We're going into the weekend soon, and it'll be some games that's still going to position other teams. That top 10 is shuffling around quickly. But real quick, let's talk about the men's. BYU, what's exciting about that is they do have the number one ranked player in the class of 2025 that is committed to BYU. So they just knocked off 2 top 25 teams. And so watch your brackets on that side. So Great coaching. They got a lot of shooters on that team. So that's why I say it's getting chippy. I'm excited to see them. I always like that underdog story. But we had some good games between Illinois and Duke. Cooper Flag is on Duke, so he probably is going to go number 1 in this draft. Michigan State looks good. Have you been seeing they games, some of their clips? Well coached. They just got a lot of excitement. UConn still got the best coach. They're going to be hard to beat. They always end up getting down to the Final Four in the tournament. So we're not going to give y'all everything, but that's just college basketball. March Madness is approaching quickly, and we can't wait till next week.
We looking forward to seeing what the guys do. Obviously, I'm biased. I like to watch the women more because I think right now it's more exciting. Last year, the women's was better than the men's. This is going to be like the second time. People are keeping up more with the women's now, college basketball. We are, for a fact, Sierra.
But I think it's because people are buying in. Like, you can follow along with your players. It's hard when you have the men, they one and done.
Yeah, you can't keep up with them. And then one and done to do what? You got drafted in the NBA, now you G League, like one and done for what? Stay with college and do NIL. You see Cooper Flag is even saying, I might stay. But a lot of people don't like that. You know why? Because they saying you stay down here and you end up getting hurt. Now you cancel your number 1 draft pick. So I don't know. That's a hard call. But right now, I'm just stating a simple fact. Women's basketball is more exciting. And a lot of that comes from, did you see the NC State versus Notre Dame? You don't see that on the men's side. They upsets, but it's not as big as the women. It's been going back and forth. We can't see a true number 1. It's not what it is. If you're not watching the women's this year, watching a season, and then especially you're not watching March Madness, then you tweaking.
Yeah.
The women's, why it's better, is because they got better coaches right now than the men. Don Staley, you got Gino. I mean, let's even be honest. Notre Dame, they got a great coach. And I hate to say that, but it's true. I'm biased, and I'm saying it. I'm for women. I'm saying it. It's better to watch, but it's also they got better coaches. And why? It's because they can mold them players more for 3 years. That's all I'll say.
So this is the end of our episode, but we like to end with something fun, something light, because we just said a lot. So as I was saying, shout out to Unrivaled, and we like to kind of watch the tunnels, watch the conversations in the locker rooms, watch the conversation behind the scenes. And one of them was kind of funny. They said, would you rather be lost at sea or lost in space? And so if y'all have a chance, go back and watch it, because it's actually really funny. But anyway, Deasia, would you rather be lost at sea or lost in space?
I would say lost in sea. And the reason why is at least somehow, some way, them waves would kind of bring me back. I don't know. They'd take me somewhere. Space, what am I going to do out there, Sierra? I can't do anything out there. Like, I'm not going to be so thrilled to see stars. I'm sorry. Plus, I don't want to be on gravity. Like, what is that? Zero gravity? I don't want to be floating around and upside down one day and the next day I'm head first into a planet. I'd rather just float me on some water. I'll be lost at sea. That'd be cool for me. In space, I think I would be stressed out. Like, dog, am I going to run into another asteroid today? What else am I going to see? Are they going to finally send some alien down here to get me? Or what's out there? At least on the sea, like, it is what it is. Why it's I know a shark is out there somewhere. As my brother asked me the other day, he asked me this. He said, Dash, do you ever think people really made it to the moon? I'm like, yeah, I thought that's what they said. But then when I think about that, I don't know, people could be lying. So I don't want to be the first one to make it to the moon if I'm lost in space. I don't want to be the first one.
Okay, but if you have a moon suit, would you be okay?
Sierra, no, I don't care what I mean. I don't care if I'm in basketball shorts, a moon suit. I don't care if I'm in doggone scrubs or some jeans. I don't want to be out there. I don't care what type of shoes I'm wearing. Don't put me upside down on my head floating around and I don't know which way is up, what's down. That's how you feel. They say you got to float to use the bathroom. That's what they say. You got to float in your sleep. Can you imagine that?
I can't imagine it, but that's why it's a funny
You
want
to be in space like that?
No. If you ask me, no.
You remember what Elon was doing, sending people to the moon, and them billionaires raised their hand for that? They didn't never do it, I don't think, did they? We didn't hear nothing else from it.
People did.
They thought twice.
They went down in that submarine. So
you see her? I'm not. You said floating. You said floating. That's a key word. You ain't say
anything. I said lost at sea or lost in space.
Sea means floating. I'm not going under submarine. If you say submarine, it's a no for me. I'll take the space. But if I'm on top of the water in a boat, yeah, I'm doing that. I ain't going underwater though. Don't put me down in a submarine where I got 3 breaths. But if I'm floating on water, I'll take that over space upside down, because I'm not running into a doggone star or a meteorite or whatever they got. The Milky Way, I don't want to see that. I'm sorry, no. I can go to the National History or whatever sci-fi museums. I'll do it there. Put me in a spacesuit and I just act like I'm doing something. Sarah, let me ask you this. Did you like when we did that indoor fly high, whatever that was? Did you like that?
Yeah, that was nice.
Now imagine if, Sarah, you said it was nice, right? Imagine if you do that for real and it's stars and all type of stuff around you and you couldn't even barely catch your balance there. You had a hard time. I watched you out of my own eyes. Imagine you doing this in space and you could never stop doing it. That's what you got to do for the rest of the time. You're going to be out of breath.
I said that. I said at least at sea you will be able to breathe.
So that was your choice, C?
Yeah, and that would be my choice too. Well, I was just throwing caveats. That was what they was doing. Go back and watch it. You obviously didn't.
I did not. I'm watching them play. That's what I care about. Them playing. Them getting their money up. That's what I saw. Them going back and forth with the W. You better pay them more.
Yeah, well, it's been great, y'all. We had a lot of fun with this episode. This is Nothing Lightly. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on TikTok. That's where we're dropping these podcasts. They're on YouTube as well. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, make sure y'all tune in every week. We try to drop an episode, and it's been fun. This is just our conversations. We just talking how we regularly would. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for listening.